Welcome to this masterclass on solar in buildings, scaling rooftop solar and building integrated solar through data, policy, finance and market enablement. Now, why is this called a masterclass? So this is not a traditional panel discussion. We'll have a structured discussion on this core theme of solar in buildings, and we'll have the experts come here one by one. So I'll be talking about the data and digital tool perspective. Dr. Aneesh will talk about the government's perspective. We have our fellow speakers here who will talk about the implementation perspective and the financing perspective. But before we start the masterclass, I'll give a small context setting of why this topic is important in the first place. So why does solar in India's buildings is important and it matters? The next phase of India's growth is going to be in its buildings. So we have official government estimates which clearly signal that. So as per government's estimates, India's urban areas are expected to house 60 crore people by 2031 and 85 crore by 2051. Now these are official government estimates. Also, as per a World Bank report a few years back, that report says that for India to become a developed nation by 2047, 70% of the building that the country needs are yet to be built. So we see a clear momentum of how much the number of buildings is going to grow in the years to come. Also, even right now, the building sector consumes close to 30% of India's electricity. So it's already a huge energy guzzler, and now with the buildings growing up so rapidly with the government estimates, with the World Bank estimates, making our buildings net zero or near net zero would be extremely important, also because we have a net zero target by 2070 and also a renewable energy target of 500 gigawatts by 2030. Now with this challenge also comes an opportunity. So India's solar trajectory has been excellent. We already have 150 gigawatts of solar installed. However, that has been led majorly by utility scale solar, which is 115 gigawatts. However, in the recent past few years, there has been an increasing trend of distributed solar growing, primarily rooftop solar, and so that building level deployment is increasing year by year. And buildings represent a massive opportunity for clean energy, mainly solar deployment. And here is where rooftop solar and building integrated PV both come as complementary solutions. Rooftop is where you can do a retrofit on your existing buildings, and BIPV is more relevant for your new buildings or for your future ready buildings. We have clear policy momentum that can help scale solar in buildings. The PM Surya Ghar has totally changed the way residential solar adoption has increased in India. We already have more than 25 lakh households who have adopted residential solar. So that momentum of deploying solar in buildings, right now rooftop solar, but it is already there. Then a lot of states have also put their interventions through their own renewable energy policies, incentives, subsidies to push more adoption of distributed solar. Then along with all this, the urbanization with the rising demand of electricity, with the rising demand of new buildings coming up, that all aligns well with more solar requirement in India's buildings. And also there is the concept of smart cities and solar cities, where also the concept of having solar in your buildings aligns. Now all of you are pretty well aware of what rooftop solar is, but I'll talk a little bit about BIPV, what it is, what is the current status in India, overseas, and how rooftop solar and BIPV could be solutions which are complementary. Now there is a very primary difference between rooftop solar and BIPV. Rooftop solar is when you have solar on the building, right? So you install on your roof. Building integrated is when solar as the building, when solar itself becomes the building. So that is building integrated PV. It is not an attachment over the building, but the panels are the building itself. And multiple surfaces of the buildings could be used: facades, glasses, balconies, roofs, shading devices, etc. And in dense environments, especially in the cities where the rooftop space is limited, the facades could play a major role through BIPV adoption. Especially in the mid-rise and high-rise buildings, the potential of BIPV is much higher than rooftop solar. I'll give an example. Let us consider a 20-story building, a commercial building, office building, which has a huge rooftop space, 5,000 square feet. Now, how much rooftop can you install in 5,000 square feet? Maybe 50 to 70 or 80 kilowatt peak in a 5,000 square feet rooftop. But let us just check what is the surface area of one facade. Let us take the southern facade. It could be maybe 15,000 square feet, where you could install 150 to 180 kilowatt peak of BIPV. Now, you may not want to use the entire facade. Even if you use 60%, it is still maybe close to 120 kilowatt peak on just one facade. Now, if you install it on the 4 facades, it is close to 500 kilowatt peak in just one building. So, in the same building, you could install maybe 70 kilowatt peak of rooftop solar, but 500 kilowatt peak of building integrated. And that is where they can complement each other. A snapshot of how BIPV could be done at what places in a building. So, you can see on the facade, on the balustrade, that is the balcony, on the windows, you could replace your roofs with panels, you could replace the shading devices, carports, etc. So, the application for BIPV is multifold. We also have a few very interesting solutions, BIPV installations in the country right now. I just mentioned an example of a building where all facades are covered with BIPV. This is that building. It is called CTRL's Data Centers. It is in Navi Mumbai. And in the picture, you can see 2 facades completely covered with panels, but even the other 2 facades are completely covered with panels. And it has a system size of close to 900 kilowatt peak. So that is almost 1 megawatt peak of installed solar in just one building. So you can clearly see what kind of potential BIPV has in a high-rise building. Now coming on to what kind of building is this? It's a data center. Now with the rise of AI, more data centers will be coming up, and this would be the perfect application of solar to generate electricity from the building on its own. The second example is from Vijayawada railway station. It may look like a rooftop solar system. It is not. Rooftop system, as I said, is when you install panels on the roof. Here the panels are the roof. So the old tin sheds were removed, these panels were put, and the ceiling arrangement, etc. was done so that there is no water ingress. But ultimately the panels are the roof in this case, and that is why it is a BIPV. And with that, it is India's first railway station that has used BIPV to generate its power. And this could be replicated across railway stations in India, across industrial facilities that have similar sheds like godowns, factory warehouses. This one is from Kolkata, a very interesting example of a public building going for BIPV, and you see what kind of installation that is. Very innovative, a dome-shaped building completely covered with panels. This is a unique example of how public buildings can become iconic examples of BIPV, good examples of creating awareness, more people becoming aware of there is a solution like BIPV in place. The last image from India is from MNRE's own building. This is an excellent example of what I mentioned, BIPV and rooftop solar complementing each other. As you can see, there is BIPV installed on the southern facade of the MNRE building, but on the rooftop you can also see the panels are there. So on the same building we have BIPV 130 kilowatt peak and some 800 kilowatt peak of rooftop solar. So a clear example of how these two solutions can actually complement each other and can together work towards scaling solar in buildings. There are a few very interesting examples from overseas as well. This is a school in Denmark which has replaced all its facade elements with solar panels. These are square-shaped solar panels in different colors. And with this system, it's around 800 kilowatt peak system. The school is generating around 70% of its own electricity through this BIPV system itself. Next example, you can say, is kind of close to the Kolkata example. This is in Switzerland. The panels used are customized. They are diamond-shaped panels, which have been used in that example. This example from China is very important because this shows that BIPV is not just a kilowatt scale thing. This system is world's largest BIPV system. It is a 120 megawatt BIPV system at a single location. It is a ceramic manufacturing facility which had old tin sheds or asbestos sheet roofs which were removed and replaced with solar panels. So 120 megawatt BIPV at a single location, world largest by far. Next building is a very unique example where you cannot even tell where the panels are. So this is again is a building in Switzerland, which I had the privilege of actually seeing it in person. So whatever you see in gray color, light gray color in that building is a solar panel. So either vertically, horizontally, everything is a custom made solar panel. And this building is actually a U-shaped building. We see only a section here, but the entire building is covered with such panels, totaling to around 170 kilowatt peak. This is again a good example that BIPV panels could be of different colors, different sizes, different geometries to match the aesthetics that you want in your building. So you could have multiple color options, geometry options, size options. You can see these panels are rectangular at some places, square at some places. Now with all this technology in place, why is more adoption of solar in building not happening in India? It is happening in the rooftop space, but that also it is on a limited level. So there are some clear constraints. One is the availability of data. So for a building owner to know what is the potential of their rooftop or the potential of their building for BIPV, that information is not something which is easily available. So that information asymmetry is there. Secondly, and also low awareness is there. And also from an aggregation point of view, suppose the government wants to scale up solar in buildings, so that aggregated data on a city level, where are the hotspots, which roofs to target, which buildings to target, that information is kind of not available. So those are the challenges, and because of these challenges, financing also becomes challenging. So this is the context which I have set. Now coming on to the master class. So it will be on practical experiences from on the field, from use cases. It will be solution oriented. It will be data driven. I'll be showing some digital tools that can help solve some of the problems, and it will be bring a integrated perspective of data, policy, implementation, as well as financing. We'll have 4 small sessions. The first one I'll be taking, where I'll talk about how we can unlock the solar potential of India's buildings through integrated digital platforms. Following which we'll have a session on government's perspective, which Dr. Aneesh Sekhar will deliver. Next would be the lender's perspective, the financing perspective of what are the challenges and what can be done from a financing point of view to scale up solar in buildings. This will be taken by Mr. Ajay Sekhar, who is Regional Head South Rooftop Solar of Ecofy Finance Ltd, which is a green NBFC. The next session will be about the implementation perspective. What are the on-ground challenges? What are the on-ground learnings from work which has happened in India, also overseas? This will be delivered by Mr. Shiva Subramanian, who is the founder of 2 companies, one operating in India, Goggles Energy, and another one operating in Singapore, which is called RICE Renewables. So we are done with the context setting part. We'll start the first session now, which is how we can unlock the potential of the solar potential of India's building through integrated digital platforms. I'll talk about 2 platforms which CSTEP has either built or is building. The first one is called Rooftop Solar Explorer. The second one is called BIPV Portal. Rooftop Solar Explorer is already in place. The second one is being developed and will be live in the next couple of months. So coming back to the current landscape of rooftop solar and BIPV. So as I mentioned, rooftop solar is doing great, but what has been done is only a fraction of the potential. So there is 26 gigawatts of installed rooftop across segments, residential, commercial, but the overall potential that has been estimated is close to 800. So what we have achieved is a very small percentage. So there is a lot of untapped potential. Then BIPV is emerging as the next generation solution, where you can have it in your upcoming buildings. Also, the policy support for BIPV has started. So BIPV is officially a part of the PM Surya Ghar scheme now, and only for the residential space as of now. So if you install BIPV at your residence, you are eligible for the same subsidies that you get for rooftop solar. And also all of this rooftop solar and BIPV align very well with the targets that India has: 2030 target of 500 gigawatt and 2070 net zero target, and also the 2047 developed nation target. The core challenge I already mentioned, the data, the absence of data rather, is one of the problems, and how we don't have a building level visibility on a scale. So if city level scaling up has to be done, that information is not easily available. So these are the 2 digital platforms that we have built. So Rooftop Solar Explorer is a platform where a consumer can check what is the potential of their rooftop and what is the business case. The vendors can also run it for multiple consumers. The government can use it for demand aggregation to identify which rooftops in a city to target, which are the hotspots in a city, which are the wards or subdivisions which could be targeted first, which could be prioritized. Second one is a BIPV portal, which is being developed as a one-stop solution for everything BIPV in India. So it will have the knowledge resources. Suppose if you want to do BIPV in your residence or your business building, it will have the contacts of the design firms, the EPC firms, the module manufacturers, the architects, whom you can contact to get it done. Also, it will have two tools. First one is called BIPV Ladder, which is a feasibility assessment tool where you can assess how feasible is BIPV in your building, and the second one is a design tool where you can actually design BIPV on your building. And together, Rooftop Solar and BIPV portal are being developed to create an integrated ecosystem which can help with, which can solve the data asymmetry problem, so that then the policy, awareness, design, financing and execution can go hand in hand. This is the first tool that we have developed, Rooftop Solar Explorer. This is being now scaled up for the PM Surya Ghar Yojana, to scale up the PM Surya Ghar Yojana. For consumers, they can check what is the potential of their rooftop along with the technical and business case. The image that you see is one of the output screens that a user will get depending on their rooftop area, shadow free, also their electricity consumption. So in this case, the entire rooftop is not covered because this user's electricity consumption was not very high, and that is why the optimal design was something which could just offset what is being consumed. The user is free to increase the system size also. The user is also free to choose a specific area in the roof. And for vendors, they can run this for multiple consumers. They can, without site visit, they can understand what is the potential of various consumers or various leads that they have. I will quickly talk about how this actually works. This is the technical part. I'll quickly talk about it. So the basis of RTSE is through aerial imagery and geospatial intelligence. So wherever it has been developed, those cities are mapped through aerial imagery, either using drones or using high resolution satellite images. So we get those images, the second one high resolution, but because the images are taken from various angles, there could be a distortion. The next step is to correct that, to rectify those images. So true ortho imagery is corrected, which gives you the exact top view. Then we develop the digital surface models, which gives you the geometry of the rooftop, size of the rooftop, height of a building, height of a neighboring building. We also develop the 3D point cloud model so that the entire city looks like in a 3D and we can know which building can impact the other building. Then we digitize each rooftop, we form small grids in each rooftop, and on each grid we run radiation analysis. So that image you see, some portions are darker, some portions are lighter. The image in where you see the roof colored. So the portions which are darker mean that these locations are best suited for panel placement. Here you will get the maximum generation. So it started as a pilot in Bangalore RTSE in 2020 with BESCOM, then expanded to 10 more cities in the next 3 years. Then we collaborated with the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. It has been expanded to 120 cities across 25 states. The functionality is a part of the PM Surya Ghar portal itself. I'll show how to access it. So it is available on the home page, on the consumer login, inside the consumer login, also inside the vendor login. These are the cities where RTSE has been covered, but essentially, so these are the cities where the high resolution aerial imagery was done. So you can see even in Tamil Nadu, you have some 7-8 cities there. However, we have expanded it to pan India. So even the other locations with lower resolution imagery with slightly lower accuracy, it will still work. How you can access RTSE now? So I mentioned that as a consumer, you can log in, you can access your roof. As a vendor, you can check the potential of multiple consumers, and we are also incorporating a design customization option for vendors so that they can increase the height of the panels, they can change the tilt, they can change the orientation like a design software, but something which will be free to use. That is being developed, the design customization module. Then for the city governments, for the DISCOMs, for the nodal agencies, there is the MCA portal or the multi-criteria analysis portal, which is for demand aggregation. Here only the governments could log in and they can find out within a city which areas or which roofs to target. And lastly, we have a RESCO portal, which is similar to a consumer portal, but for government buildings. So it runs on the RESCO finance model. That is the only difference. This is how the consumer portal within the RTSE consumer portal within the PM Surya Ghar portal looks like. So you have to log in. There's an option for click for rooftop solar calculator. You have to then choose your roof. Then you have to enter your electricity consumption details for 1 month. It will extrapolate it to a year. And this is the result that you will get. You can customize the system size. You can also choose a different area like you can draw a polygon and it will then place the panels there. But the optimal design was at this location because the CUF is higher here, and that is why the optimal design was at this location. There's a small video of how it runs on the home page. Volume.
LoRa or RTSE. Now live on the national portal for PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana, making rooftop solar simpler, more affordable and within reach. Simply go to the menu, select roof and click on rooftop visualization. Instantly view your rooftop, check sunlight and shading and get the right solar system size for your home. Whether you're a consumer or a vendor, you can estimate savings and find the best solar option quickly and easily. Powered by Discom data, RTSE delivers accurate, personalized insights across cities in India. Visit the portal and begin your solar journey today.
So please try it. It's fairly simple to use and you don't even have to log in. There is an option of roof mentioned on the home screen. You can access it from there directly. We have also developed RTSE for Chennai. So it is already there on the TNGCL website. The portion which is marked, it is already there at the website. And here what is special is that we have also made it accessible in the local language, that is Tamil. So you could access it in English as well as in the Tamil language. Coming on to the second city level portal. So here, as I said, a city government or the central or the state government could log in. And so these images are for Chennai. So we have done it for 10 plus cities and more cities are now being added up in discussions with MNRE. So for example, this image is for Chennai. Once you log in, you will get this map of various wards of the city. Then you can either select a ward from the image or from the drop down. Once you select the ward, this is what comes. That within that ward, what is the breakup of the rooftops? Where does the potential lie? So there are 4 ranges, 0 to 3, 3 to 10, 10 to 50 and beyond 30. It will show that within that ward, these many rooftops have a potential of 0 to 3 and the other ranges. Now if you select a particular range, say 10 to 50, then it will highlight all the rooftops within that ward that have a potential of 10 to 50. Then if you select any particular rooftop, you will get this result, that a roof level result. You can download the entire ward details for a consolidated thing where you can then filter it out, identify what are the hotspots, which buildings should be targeted, because it will give you the location of the rooftop, lat long, the system capacity, the CUF, everything. It can be easily downloaded. The RESCO portal is for governments. We are working with multiple state governments to do it. Now, a tool is fine, but ultimately there has to be awareness to use it. So we have done extensive capacity building with various entities. So we have trained 100 plus officials from 41 plus discoms. So the image that you see on the right is a capacity building session for discoms happening in MNRE. So this is the conference room of MNRE. The first image that you see is a capacity building session for vendors happening in Nagpur. It happened this year only. And we are also working with to create awareness with the consumer. So this is an image from Indore. We have done extensive campaigns in Indore and Ujjain to create awareness about this tool and rooftop solar in general with the consumers. The last part is the BIPV portal. For BIPV, as I said, it is a one-stop shop. It will have the knowledge resources of BIPV and 2 tools. The first one, BIPV ladder for viability assessment. The second one, an actual design tool. So this is the ladder. So this will ask a few inputs that any user will have, not very technical inputs. Suppose you are making a new building. So you'll have a few inputs like where is the building, what is the area, what is the facade area, etc. So those inputs have to be entered. A few financial information has to be entered. It will also ask whether you are going for energy codes, green building certification, and then how flexible are you in terms of the aesthetics of the building. Based on that, on 4 parameters, it will make the scoring on technical performance, financial viability, environmental impact and aesthetics, and it will give you a viability score. But for example, here the score is high. So in this case, with the inputs given by the user, the viability of BIPV is high. And the user is free to change the percentage, the weightage. So suppose a user is more interested in the financial viability or aesthetic, so those percentages could be easily changed here to get a customized output. So this is what helps you to find what is the viability of BIPV in my building. Next is the actual design tool which we are making, where you can design, where you can recreate your building, and this will be on the portal itself, you don't have to install a software. It will be free to use. You can recreate your building. You can recreate neighboring buildings. You can see the shadow impact. Then you can actually place your panels here. This is being built. Ladder is almost complete. This will be done in 2 months. You can also see the sun path, etc. And you can get the outputs, a proper design output from here. This is for slightly more technical users. So ultimately, with all this, we have seen that rooftop solar and BIPV are not competing solutions, rather they are complementary solutions. We saw the MNRE building where both solutions are present in the same building. And RTSE can help cover the gap of data asymmetry which is there. BIPV can cover the gap of data asymmetry which BIPV faces. And ultimately, when both of them together are become more mainstream, it can help in the overall process of designing, decision making from the government side, from the private sector side, and ultimately the execution. Thank you so much. We'll jump to the next session. I would welcome Dr. Aneesh Sekhar for the government perspective. So, sir will talk about what is the government's vision, what is the government's plan and strategy for scaling up solar in building. Sir, please welcome. Sir, you want to use this? Right. Thank you.
Good evening to all of you. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers of RenewX for bringing this event to Chennai. I was given to understand that this is the second time the event is happening in Chennai. So, being one of the leaders when it comes to RE, it is very happy to have such a wonderfully organized conference in this city. So thank you for the organizers for choosing Chennai. And again, I also thank CSTEP for inviting me for this conference. We work very closely with CSTEP, and some of the tools that was discussed in the previous session, we also are working on those tools and bringing it to the benefit of people to utilize it for their own residential as well as other building potential assessment. I'm supposed to talk on the role policy can play. So to bring that to a certain level of framework, the little bit of background I feel will be necessary. The fact that we are discussing all this is to facilitate the energy transition the entire country is or the entire world is now undergoing. But when it comes to policy, addressing energy transition is never possible in isolation. Being a country like India, which is having a lot of challenges other than energy transition, none of those challenges can be addressed in isolation. So then you will have decision makings giving outputs which are not actually desirable. So when it comes to the energy sector, the policy makers are left with a trilemma. So the trilemma is one part of trilemma is being discussed here, which is the energy transition, wherein energy conservation and energy renewables based generation becomes the solution towards. But the other two legs also we have to be equally aware about and bring it as part of the dialogue when it comes to solving the problem of energy transition. So the other two legs of the trilemma which the policy makers or the policy has to address is, one, of course, is energy security. So we are a developing country. We are a country wherein per capita consumption of electricity is one of the lowest, and we are catching up. So there is a lot of demand for electricity. Every day today, yesterday we had touched one of the highest demands ever in the Tamil Nadu state's history. So this has to be factored, that we have to provide assured quality power for the development requirements of the state. So energy security is paramount when it comes to the policy makers' problems. Another is energy equity. So if you go to European countries or to any other developed countries, you see that power is priced based on the demand supply mechanisms, and whatever is the cost of power is passed on to the consumer. So when we are in our country which has got disparities in economic backgrounds, where we still have the need for welfare state, Tamil Nadu Green Energy Corporation, which was formed in 2024, with the single minded focus on powering this energy transition for the state of Tamil Nadu. Today, the state of Tamil Nadu, our peak demand is somewhere close to 21,000 megawatt. So we expect it to grow at a CAGR of around 5 to 7% over the next 10 years. Today, my installed capacity when it comes to solar is 13,500 megawatt. Wind is close to 12,000 megawatt. So put together, it is around 25,000 megawatt is my installed capacity. So going forward, for the next 10 years, we do something called a resource adequacy study. Considering the requirements of power, the fact being that a lot of transition to electricity is happening. Even today we realize that cooking itself is now becoming more and more electric, considering the geopolitical issues and availability of LPG, etc. Electric cooking started stepping in as another guzzler of demand. We are hearing daily about data centers. We are hearing daily about artificial intelligence. And we are also seeing the transition in automotive sector, wherein electric vehicles are becoming the norm going into the future. All this is adding to the demand for power. So from where I will give this power, so that is where we do this resource adequacy study. For the 10 years horizon, my resource adequacy study says that we need close to 50 gigawatts of solar. 50 gigawatts of solar. Today we are 13 gigawatt, 13. So over the last so many decades, we have come to 13 gigawatt. In the next 1 decade, I have to add almost 3 times what I have added till now. So that is the kind of solar addition that is required to meet my demand going till 2035. And whether it is just enough to add solar, that is another important question to understand. So today I was just walking around the stalls when I came to this conference. So one thing which was very evident, that the focus or the stall space is not just limited to people who are in solar sector. Now there is a lot of interest which is seen in storage. So which is the reason why solar has become very, very important in any states, or especially for Tamil Nadu's energy transition. The challenge associated with solar, which was that it was informed, it was available only from 8 to 4 or 8 to 5, that challenge is now being addressed by storage. So which has brought us to a point where there is evidence wise we can say that going into the future, our entire grid, at least 90% of the grid requirements, can be satisfied by solar and storage. So storage is something that is going to enable more addition of solar. Today, I struggle to add solar. So there is always this question, why Tamil Nadu is not adding that much of rooftop, or why Tamil Nadu is not adding that much of solar. Even if I add, I don't have the capacity to absorb that power during solar hours. So it goes into curtailment, especially when wind season also starts. That's another challenge that Tamil Nadu has. Wind, we have 12,000 megawatt, but wind is available only from May to September. So once that season of wind also sets in, the need for curtailing power becomes more and more because of the fact being that the solar is not able, we are not able to store that and use it during non-solar hours. So the solution is here, and the solution is very promising because of the fact that it has come to a point where it has become commercially viable. The storage market has reached a point where it is economically the cheapest source of energy procurement for the state of Tamil Nadu. So today, if I am going for a firm round-the-clock procurement of power, if I compare with any other source of energy, solar plus storage becomes the cheapest source of procurement, and this is what, more than the requirement for environmental transition or environmental benefit, it is this cost advantage, the cost economics itself is what is going to drive this energy transition into the future. So I have concluded close to 2,500 megawatt hours of storage installations, but it will take some time. It takes another 18 months till it comes to commissioning. So on a graded level, once storage comes, we can absorb more solar into the grid. When I started, I talked about the resource adequacy, and it said 50 megawatt. And it also said I need 60 gigawatt hours. That is 60,000 megawatt hours of storage to use this 50 gigawatt of solar. So the numbers are a little too mind-boggling today to even absorb it. But we are finding ways, we are finding different ways of addressing this requirements for us to achieve the objectives of energy transition. 50 gigawatt of solar, is it very simple to get 50 gigawatt of solar? No. 50 gigawatt of solar means you have to earmark for every megawatt close to 4 acres of land if you are going for utility scale solar. So that much of land availability for a state like Tamil Nadu, which is already having lot of competitive requirements on land. The land cost, of course, any developer here will know that compared to any other state, the cost of land in Tamil Nadu is higher. So even if I make the land, it may not be the best possible use of land. There could be many other better ways of economically using the land which we have in our state. So optimal land use also is something that we have to factor in when we do this energy transition. So I cannot earmark the entire land which is available in the state to solar projects. So that is where the importance of distributed rooftop and these building integrated photovoltaics comes into the picture. So I was discussing this with one of my friends in the DISCOM, then we were talking and he was telling how much of solar we need. We need solar from everywhere possible. So that is the level of requirement the solar will get once the storage market and the storage installations start commissioning in the country. So once the storage installation starts commissioning, that will happen in the next 6 months, the demand for solar will be so much that any amount of solar will be not enough to meet the requirements of solar power. So for us, the rooftop becomes that a very important source of solar. Today, Tamil Nadu has close to 1,580 megawatt of rooftop, and our potential, as is assessed by the Energy Resource Institute, is close to 60 gigawatt. That means we have only used a very minor portion of the potential that the state has. So we can see that as an opportunity, and that opportunity is something that we are now addressing. Last 1.5 years, there have been significant addition of residential rooftop solar and commercial and industrial rooftop solar also. But when it comes to government buildings and even in commercial and industrial sector, one of the challenges that we face is with respect to financing these rooftop solar projects. Even in residential rooftop also, individual houses financing happens and the projects are taking off. But if you see cities like Chennai or Coimbatore, there are a lot of multi-storied apartments. There again, the challenge is that everybody has to come together and agree for this kind of rooftop solar projects, and then these projects have to be financed. How these projects can be financed? Because many of the owners of the buildings, etc., they don't have that competence to maintain, operate and maintain, make sure that they perform in an economically best suited manner. That competence is not there with the building owners. So that is why what we believe is that a vibrant RESCO market wherein developers can come, install, operate and maintain and get paid for the energy generated, like that is there in the utility scale market. If rooftop also, this RESCO market, even in the commercial, industrial as well as in government buildings, can take form and reach some kind of a maturity, it will be really, really helpful. So one difficulty which we faced when we also floated a tender in RESCO mode for government buildings is that the big players, the utility scale players, the big developers are not interested in small projects. They are not keen on small 10 megawatt, 20 megawatt or even 5 megawatt small scale rooftop solar projects. And for smaller developers who are more local, who wants to do this kind of projects, of course the life cycle of the project is 25 years. So you have to take the returns over a period of 25 years. For them, long-term financing options itself becomes a challenge. So financing RESCO is one of the challenges which we need to address. Once we can ensure that the RESCO market takes over in a bigger way, we can finance these RESCO projects better. I am sure that more and more residential rooftop, especially on multi-storied buildings, on apartments, as well as in commercial, industrial and government buildings will get a lot of momentum. So we are also working with banks and other financing agencies to ensure that a facilitative environment comes on this. So we talked about residential, the distributed solar generation. To get the best benefits out of the system, if you want to make the residential or distributed generation really beneficial for the system, it also has to be coupled with distributed storage. That will help at least defer the investments that I have to make when it comes to the transformers or to the transmission and distribution infrastructure. To optimize all that, once distributed generation is coupled with distributed storage. So when it comes to distributed storage, it has to be done at the residential level, it has to be done at the distribution transformer level, at the commercial and industrial locations, or every possible generation place we need to couple it with storage as well to get the optimum benefits. Towards that also, we are working on that, this being time where we are not expected to come up with new policy announcements or discuss new policy. I am refraining from doing that. But still, we are working on various initiatives that will help spur this kind of an investment in distributed storage as well. So, building integrated photovoltaic is something that we are also looking at with a lot of curiosity, and it was very happy to see that a tool on these lines. I'm sure that this will help the developers, the new building developers as well as existing building owners to assess their potential, which is the first step. And ideally, as I understand with the limited knowledge I have on this, it has to start at the design stage itself rather than a retrofit. Retrofit has its own challenges. It is a little bit more cost, additional cost is involved. But if you can replace a normal facade for which anyway an investment is going in by the building owner, if that investment can be replaced by this facade with building integrated photovoltaics, And if the incremental cost of that, the incremental cost of a photovoltaic facade versus a normal facade, if that can be financed by the energy generation, because these building integrated systems doesn't have the kind of efficiency that rooftop systems or utility scale systems have. So at least if that delta of the facade can be financed by the energy generation, if you can build models around that, again that will work wonders towards making building integrated photovoltaics also economically viable in India. Because why I'm saying this is that India is a very, very price sensitive market. Unlike many of the European countries or other developed parts of the country, everything ultimately comes back to price. So unless and until we can work a solution which is cost efficient as well as overall value accretive, it may not work at scale. So we have to build models which can work at scale and create financial tools also which can help prospective developers adopt such technologies which are going to be overall beneficial to the system as a whole. So with these few words, I'd like to conclude my address, and I once again thank the organizers for this very wonderful conference that you are organizing, and also a lot of knowledge exchange is happening here, which I am sure will help our state as well as the country in its energy transition goals. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights. We now also understand how does the government look at it on the larger energy transition, and not just the buildings, but yeah, for the government, it is the larger energy transition which has to be made sure that it moves in the right way. The next session we have is on the financing perspective. I would like to invite Mr. Ajay Sekhar from Ecofy, Regional Head South Rooftop Solar, for his inputs on the financing perspective. Can we have the presentation, please? Please, Mr. Ajay.
So good evening, everyone.
This is forward to right.
Is this? Okay.
You want to see? No. Forward.
So I hope everyone knows about Ecofy or rooftop solar financing. So we have been in this market for the last 3 years, and I joined in Chennai for the couple of years. So we have empaneled about 1,000 to 1,500 EPCs in Ecofy since 2022, and we have got the license in 2022 November from NBFC. Then we started scaling up from 2022 to 2025. We have achieved around 500 crores AEM, whereas what our major role is like, we do only green financing. So it's like rooftop solar, EV, three-wheeler EV, and we are also focused on commercial and industrial segments. Then what is our role in financing is like we are associated with EPCs, where EPCs will source the files from the customers, and we do have technical checks, and what customers will be like, we'll be negotiating on the rates. So this is how it works for rooftop solar. The only difference between the rooftop solar and what sir was saying about the this solar integrated module is like the technical differences. If you see for rooftop solar, the panel cost is very simple. It is very precise, and we know. But if in the other case, we have to add the building materials also in that cost, whereas the evaluation gets tougher for us, and in financing perspective, it is very tough. If you take rooftop solar, we can finance it for 3 to 5 years, and maximum till 7 years we can do it. But in this bipolar module, then if you take, then it takes around somewhere around 8 to 12 years. So that is a major challenge in this. And as far as Aneesh sir was also saying, we have an incubation center in Mumbai, whereas we are also working on financing the apartments and societies. So he rightly addressed that the associations, they don't take the ownership, or they don't take the what you call the documentation part gets tougher, where we cannot hold someone into that agreement. So that is where we are not able to finance for the associations and apartments. But still, in another 6 months to 1 year, we'll be definitely coming up with a new product. And for this bipolar module also, we are also working on it. And in 1 year, we'll be coming out with a right solution. As of now, see, there is nothing to cover up in this slide, because I've already told about Ecofy and Ecofy's work. So that's what is mentioned in this slide. So we are doing it for electric vehicles, two-wheeler, three-wheeler, rooftop solar and SME. So this is the portfolio, and we have financed around more than 1 lakh customers in this rooftop solar, and we have tied up with more than 10 solar OEMs in India, and we have presence across 17 states in India. And 1,500 dealers EPCs onboarded. Is like, this data is around 6 months old, and we have done more than 1,500, I guess, now. So we have a scorecard based decisioning, end-to-end journey. It is like everything is digital. So if you give your customers PAN and Aadhaar, then we can evaluate their CIBIL, and we can get their data digitally. Then average ticket size would be 2 lakhs, because in Tamil Nadu we have seen is like 3 kilowatt is a major product in Tamil Nadu, whereas in Karnataka Karnataka and Kerala major players will be like 5 kilowatt and 8 kilowatt. So those are the creamy market for us. So this is how we function here. So technical evaluation along with the site visit, post dispersal monitoring will be assuring that the solar panel is generating. So that is also we have to check. And we have 2 disbursements. So we'll not disburse the entire funds when the loan is approved. So we'll be initially approving 80% of the fund, whereas 20% will hold for the final installation. And once the final installation is completed, we'll be disbursing the 20% funds. So why financing? So this is the major, this is just a case study. If you see, financing is an enabler in this market. For a iPhone, they have done a study from 2014 to 2023. You can see that how the sale of an iPhone has been improved with the support of financing here. So similarly, in rooftop solar also, we have done a study where the dealers' business have scaled up in multiple states, whereas without financing and with financing, how it's scaled up. So this is the classic example of how financing is working as an enabler in sales. So this shows how we are using financing as an enabler. You go to a customer, you ask the detail from the customer, you spend 5 minutes asking their PAN and Aadhaar. We give our user ID and password to the dealer, so that dealer can evaluate by themselves. It takes hardly 5 to 10 minutes to evaluate a customer potential in this. So that if the customer is okay, we can close the lead immediately. So there is no necessity for saying the customer like we'll give you 1 or 2 days time. So if you give in today's scenario, in today's competition, if you give 1 or 2 days, then there are high chances of losing a customer. So there we are playing our major key role, that we give our decisioning is more than our decisioning takes hardly 5 to 10 minutes. So you can assess the profile and you can get the loan evaluation done here. If the customer is saying okay, then agreement and other parts, we can do it in another 30 minutes. So the beauty of Ecofy is like, if you are giving a file today as an EPC perspective, if you are giving a file today morning, we'll assess the file immediately. If the customer is okay and if all the documents are okay, then we can disburse the amount on the very same day. So we can take a hard call for 2 days, but maximum we do it on 1 day. That's it. So this is, see, we give a special facility to the dealers who do more than 25 lakhs. So what we do is like, we do branding with them, and we also implant our executives in their offices, so that our executives will go sit in their office, they'll take the files, they'll evaluate the customer details, and they'll do all the end-to-end process by themselves, and the dealers will be reported time to time. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ajay. And I'll tell you, I've seen Ecofy's system. I think the turnaround times are crazy. So they're so quick. So he did mention that they do it in one day. And yeah, I've seen it happening in real time. I think what is really needed is more banks and NBFCs follow a similar approach where the turnaround time becomes very, very quick, like what Ecofy is achieved. Then only we could solve the larger financing issue of not just solar in buildings, but solar at large, because that has been one of the major constraints of files getting stuck during the financing process. So, great presentation, Mr. Ajay. Thank you so much. Now we'll go to the next session, which is on the implementation perspective. We have Mr. Shiva Subramanian here, founder Goggles Energy, founder RICE Renewables, who will share his experiences from India and overseas on scaling solar in buildings. Thank you. Can we have the presentation?
Forward, rewind.
Which one is forward? This one is forward. Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Present it.
Good evening, everyone. Last session, last speaker, and I'm in tremendous pressure to finish this in less than 4 minutes. I'll see if I can do some justice here. Solar in buildings is considered as a deployment opportunity. I would rather argue it is more of a market design opportunity. So now the transition from solar has been moving from traditional rooftop installations to panels onto the buildings and to intelligence, building intelligence. So intelligence in the sense artificial intelligence and a lot of storage generation, everything is handled in building. So buildings are now more of a power generating infrastructure assets. They are premium assets these days. Now, the real bottleneck is not really the technology. The technology has been there for quite some time. But according to me, the real bottleneck is the fragmentation. When BIPV is considered, starting from the project developer to the policy, to the finance, and to the implementation stage, everybody is working in their own silos. There is no coordination there. So the moment there is a spark of BIPV design being considered onto the building envelope, it gets scrapped even before it is reaching a detailed engineering stage. The real bottleneck is the fragmentation. Now, with over 200 projects installed in Southeast Asia, I would like to share some experience from Singapore, where we have done most of the installations. And let me give you a short story about how the BIPV is taking a major leap in the Singapore market. So it all started between 2018-19 when the government was actually trying to promote green building. They had a green building plan, and by 2030 they have come up with a nice 80-80-80 rule, wherein 80% of the buildings will be green energy buildings. Out of another 80 interesting concept is all new upcoming infrastructure, which is of a decent size, will be super low energy buildings. The moment we are talking about super low energy buildings, we are talking about energy efficiency, and building the entire building will be having some energy efficiency methods, and also the devices starting from your HVAC will be energy efficient buildings. So now what complements here is energy generation. So obviously the buildings are super low energy when there is enough generation happening at the site level. Now, the way it started is with the green building plan in place, the government started discussing with the financing parties, and the financing parties started giving green loans. Now, with the finance and the policy in place, the developers and the architects are obligated to have certain BIPV into their design elements. Now, when these three are in place, obviously the design started happening, the implementation started happening in the design level. So once the design happens in the implementation level, obviously the BIPV is taking off. Now, it didn't stop there. Now, we had a lot of other regulation parties getting involved, like Building and Construction Authority, Civil Defense, everybody coming with their own perspectives, everybody coming up with their own concerns, and everybody sharing this. So the period from 2018 to 2023, all the experimentation happened, and all the policy and government organizations, they came up with their own standards and implementation procedures, and everything was in place. Now, solar is not considered, or BIPV is not considered or compared to a conventional rooftop solar, and BIPV is not considered as an expensive solar installations. Rather, it is considered as a building material. So the moment you consider BIPV as building infrastructure, the equation changes. There's more adaptation happening there. Now, according to me, the emerging business models will be into three verticals. The first one is aggregated rooftop portfolios, which is what CSTEP is trying to do. They're trying to, they're coming up with some interesting data. Now, the second promising field will be building integrated PVs, and solar as e-services is the third vertical, which I would heavily bet on. Obviously, we have PPAs for the rooftop segments, but for the building level, it is more on something called solar as e-services models, and these three are the major verticals which will drive. The next gigawatt may come from better market design and not better modules. My strong opinion and strong belief here. Now, when the data is in place, the data is available, and finance in place, and the policy is making or opening up opportunities, and then for a country like India, wherein there's immense potential, solar is a natural growth trajectory. Solar will be a natural growth trajectory. Now, solar on buildings is the past. Solar as buildings is the future. With this, I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shiva. I think he concluded very well with that solar as the building is BIPV. And there's one point that I missed while I was in the first session related to the cost of a BIPV system. So, of course, it is more expensive than traditional rooftop systems. But here's the catch. BIPV replaces your building element. So, when you are putting a BIPV, so you are not using the conventional building element, rather you are putting a solar panel which may be delta more expensive than the conventional building element, but then it is generating electricity from the day one. That is saving money from the day one, and that is why if you see on that perspective, BIPV also make economic sense. And while rooftop is always calculated on a per kilowatt or per megawatt scale, BIPV should always be considered on a per square feet, on a per square meter basis, because it is your building which becomes the BIPV building. So that is why it should not be kilowatt, but rather a area wide consideration. So with that, we'll close the session now. I would like to invite Mr. Amit from the organizers team. You can have all the speakers here. Invite them to speak. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shantanu. It was a pleasure to have you here. And it was an honor to have our dignitaries along with Dr. Aneesh Sekhar to be part of the CSTEP Masterclass. Thank you so much to our audience also. May I kindly request Dr. Aneesh Sekhar to join us on the stage. May I kindly request Mr. Shantanu Roy to join us on the stage. Requesting Mr. Ajay Sekhar to join us on the stage. And requesting Mr. Shiva Subramanian to join us on the stage, please. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we would be concluding the day 2 of the 10th edition of RenewX. And while we do that, I request Mr. Julian Thomas, Portfolio Director in Informa Markets, to please come on the stage and felicitate our guests. May I request Mr. Julian Thomas to present a hamper from CSTEP and Informa Markets side to Dr. Aneesh Sekhar, IS Managing Director, Tamil Nadu Green Energy Corporation Limited. Dr. Aneesh, please. Thank you so much, Dr. Sekhar. May I also request Mr. Julian Thomas to present a hamper from CSTEP and Informer Market side to Mr. Ajay Sekhar. Shantanu, if you could also join Julian and Ajay. Thank you so much. May I also request Mr. Shantanu and Mr. Julian Thomas to present a hamper to Mr. Shiva Subramanian, founder Goggles Energy Pvt Ltd. Thank you so much. May I kindly request Mr. Julian Thomas and Dr. Aneesh Sekhar to present a hamper to Mr. Shantanu for setting up this masterclass. It was an honor. If we can have a quick group photograph, please. Ajay and Shiva, if you could join us for a group photograph. One more.
Hello.
Check.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please request Mr. Shantanu Roy to present a token of love from CSTEP to Mr. Amit Sharma?
So, of course, Amit has helped us to organize this masterclass from the start. He has been extremely supportive, and yeah, this is our first association with Amit's team. So, thank you so much, Amit, for this. Wait.
Thank you so much, guys.